Good morning, everybody. Or rather, we're still in the world of COVID, and we're not only not all in the same place, we're not even in the same time zone. So let me start instead with a simple good day. I'm Gary Fenwick. I'm a professor of comparative literature here at the University of Washington. I'm director of its program on the environment. On behalf of our program, our faculty, and our staff, I would like to welcome you to what is every year our greatest source of pleasure and pride. I'll begin with an increasingly traditional tribal land acknowledgement, one that has particular relevance to the vision and work of our college. The University of Washington acknowledges the Coast Salish peoples of this land, the land that touches the shared waters of all tribes and bands within the Suquamish, Tulalip, and Muckleshoot nations. Today is a day for celebration, and I want to begin by honoring our graduating seniors in the best possible way, given the constraints on interaction that Zoom places upon us. So if I could have everybody who is in our Zoom link unmute for a moment. I would now like to hear the most raucous, cacophonous, wildly enthusiastic applause that you can manage online.
Yay!
Not worthy. Not wild enough.
Again.
Okay, thank you. Let you try again later. Students, you have done something extraordinary. You have concluded your University of Washington careers in circumstances unlike any I have seen in my life. And never. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Right. Okay, delayed reactions. That happens sometimes. You have concluded your Okay, we may have a time lag or something on my end anyway. Students, you have done something extraordinary. You have concluded your University of Washington careers under circumstances unlike any I have ever seen in my life, and truly hope never to see again. You finish with steep hills ahead of you. The next months and years will be times of continued transformation. You, as indeed all of us, are still very much on the way to becoming the people that you will be. I am a student and teacher of narratives, and I'd like to offer you, parents, families, friends, and students alike, a brief parting story to carry with you. The story is lightweight. It fits easily into even the smallest backpack, and yet I think it's good for illuminating some of the inevitable dark moments ahead. It was told about himself by David Brower, who was the driving force in the creation of the modern Sierra Club, and told in the course of a hike very nearby in the North Cascades. It's taken from a book called Encounters with the Archdruid, written by one of America's great nature writers, John McPhee, a book I encourage all of you to pick up and read carefully this summer in your leisure time. On page 34 of that book, towards the beginning of the hike still, they reached a point at Seattle Pass. Quoting now from McPhee. Brower was still talking about butterflies. He was a well-known lepidopterist who knew an enormous amount about butterflies. Brower said he had raised them from time to time and had often watched them emerge from the chrysalis. First, a crack in the case, then a feeler, and in an hour, a butterfly. He said he had felt that he wanted to help, to speed them through the long and awkward procedure. And he had once tried. The butterflies came out with extended abdomens, and their wings were balled together like miniature clenched fists. Nothing happened. They sat there until they died. I have never gotten over that, he said. That kind of information is all over in the country. but it's not in the town. A reminder, I think, of how much, in fact, as we all know in this program, nature has to teach us. We're going to continue with some remarks from our Dean, Lisa Groundlick, the Mary Laird Professor and Dean of the UW College of the Environment, almost since its inception. Lisa is stepping down now after a 10-year term in which she has done a remarkable job of bringing into being a college that did not exist prior to her arrival. Lisa's remarks now.
Hello, class of 2021. It is my distinct honor to be one of the first to congratulate you on your graduation from the University of Washington. This is indeed an accomplishment for which you should all be proud. And thank you for allowing me to be part of this special occasion. It's hard not to be able to shake your hand and congratulate you in person. And certainly walking across your living room is a little different from crossing the stage at Husky Stadium. We come together in recognition of your accomplishments, big and small, from completing your very first midterm in your introductory 100 level class to finishing the last sentence of your thesis. The lessons that test us the most as students are often not taught in the classroom, the lab, or even in the field, nor are they measured in exams, assessments, or papers. They are instead learned in the unpredictable, the unforeseen challenges, and how we rise to meet them. Any typical year of learning is peppered with obstacles, and you all have demonstrated tremendous grit and determination, especially since the shift to virtual learning. The academic journey is not just about grades. It's about learning how to juggle, to prioritize, and to persevere. And to be here today, you have proven that you have those skills, and that adaptability will serve you well. You take with you not just a degree, but a wellspring of life experience to draw upon as you move on in your life. Here at the University of Washington, you learn to question and to think more critically. You learn the essential value of teamwork and how to build something together with your classmates, whether their interests aligned with yours or were entirely different. You immersed yourself in your chosen discipline, and at the end of the day, you became a leader. And I can tell you that as dean, it's been enlightening and inspiring to watch you grow. Thank you for giving me this front row seat. As our next leaders, you will make this world a more livable, sustainable place for all of us. And I couldn't be more proud and hopeful about the future, knowing that you will be the people leading the charge. So what's next? For some of you, it may be an internship or your first job. For others, the academic journey continues with grad school or professional training. For many, the job hunt is on, and it can be scary out there. But one thing I know for sure, you are now all equipped with the knowledge, the skills, and the outlook that employers all over the world need right now. But beyond the skills and the knowledge, now more than ever, our world needs kind, smart graduates. We need you to be voices for equity and balance, and crucially for our planet. So, in appreciation of your efforts and talents this year, the College of the Environment is partnering with the Campus Sustainability Fund to help fund the native gardens at the UW Farm Project to design and plant a garden of indigenous plants with significance in native food traditions. This project is in partnership with Wakshebalt Intellectual House. The project is a step towards food sovereignty on campus and will allow students, staff, and faculty in the community to learn about, grow, and consume traditional foods. The project was chosen based on a recommendation from our Student Advisory Council and then voted on by you, our graduating class. And we believe This is a contribution that showcases our collective commitment to the sustainability and the well-being of our campus, our community, and our planet. Wherever you go next, I want you to embrace that the world needs you, that the unique set of skills will help you stand out in a crowd. Stay curious, be adventuresome, stretch your limits, be kind to yourself. You have what it takes. And know that I will still be in the front row cheering you on, always. Please stay in touch. I would love to hear about each and every one of your adventures, and congratulations.
We have a series of speakers today, including something that we traditionally do, inviting one of our POE alumni to come back and speak for a while. We're certainly proud of all of them. It's a particular pleasure this year, I think, to have Laura-Lee Dutzen-Atwood speaking, in part because we have a very active POE alumni group. I would encourage all of you graduating this year to think very seriously about participating in that in the future. It really is a piece of the networking that allows all of our graduates, I think, to move on to really successful careers. Laura-Lee graduated from POE in 2013 after her capstone work on understanding the waste produced at Husky Athletic Games, a monumental task, I would point out. She brought this background in waste diversion to a position as e-commerce manager for a consumer goods company. While there, she helped build a brand that brought circularity into the coffee cup industry. What could be more Seattle than that? Laura-Lee went on to earn an MBA at the University of Notre Dame, where she was a net impact fellow focusing on climate change. She now works at Amazon as a technical product manager and serves as waste diversion chair of their Sustainability Ambassadors Club. Laura-Lee.
Hello, class of 2021 graduates. My name is Laura-Lee, and I am a graduate of the Program on the Environment's class of 2013. And I am very honored to speak with you all today. It's been almost a decade since I was in your shoes, but I am so proud of how much this program has grown and love seeing the wonderful graduates that it produces. That's you. My admiration for this program extends beyond just stalking its social media accounts. You may have seen me creeping around to judge a capstone symposium or two, or visiting a class to talk and answer questions about life post-graduation. And for the last few years, I've been a part of the POE Alumni Council. And I have to say, the reason that I continue to be involved, even after 8 years, is because of students like you. When I talk to students, I see fiercely passionate individuals who want to make the planet a safer, more just, and more resilient place. The common values that I share with students and alumni of this program continues to inspire me, even when my life post-graduation may not be 100% tied to environmental causes. And I'm here today to tell you that that's okay. For the lucky students who are able to find a job directly tied to the environment, to you I say, that is amazing, congratulations. My personal journey post-graduation has never been directly tied to any sort of environmental issues. I've done everything from assisting with halftime shows for the Seattle Seahawks, launching a cup brand online in Europe, to being a technical product manager at Amazon. But regardless of where my career goes, I have always tried to keep one toe in the world of sustainability. And you may find yourself in a similar situation, trying to understand, how does this job tie to my degree? But what I have come to realize is that the things you learn in POE can be applied to any job. One of the main reasons why many of us chose this degree is because of its interdisciplinary nature. We have taken classes tied to social sciences, humanities, economics, data analysis, communications, arts, the list goes on. And you now have a highly valued skill set to help you tackle any job role across all industries. You know how to make decisions based on facts and values, how to problem solve deeply complex issues, how to collect and interpret data, and how to teach and communicate clearly to others. All of this makes you well equipped to tackle not only any industry, but also just everyday life. Whatever path you take after graduation, your knowledge and skills will be highly valued and incredibly important. But if you're like me, there may come a point in your life when you ask yourself, how does me arranging a wiener dog race at this football stadium help the environment? Okay, well, maybe not that specific scenario, but you get it. And to that I say, there is always a green lining. One of the things that I have learned from this program is to view the work that I do through the lens of an environmental studies major. Now, in whatever role that I have, I try to provide an environmental perspective whenever applicable, whether it's advocating for more compostable packaging at events, to being a part of the Sustainability Ambassadors Club. Just because you find yourself in that job that may not directly tie to environment doesn't mean that you can't bring your own environmental perspectives and experiences into the work that you do. Now, I know this last year of school has been extremely different from those in the past, but the resilience that you have shown should be thought of as yet another valuable trait that you have gained from this program. You should be extremely proud of yourselves. You have worked hard over multiple years to cultivate an education embedded in your passion. You completed a capstone project, which has provided you with a valuable experience that you can now add to your resume. And you are now a part of an elite alumni club for graduates from the program on the environment. And one of the reasons I'm here today is to tell you more about some of the ways that you can stay connected to the program, your peers, and get to know our other club members. So after you've celebrated this incredible milestone and you find yourself scrolling on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, don't forget to follow the UW POE Alumni Council. One of the reasons I joined the council because I really believe in the mission and what we are trying to teach. I want to be able to help students and alumni succeed in whatever dreams, goals, and passions they have, whether it's financially through our scholarship or socially through events. And this year, while we weren't able to socialize and serve beer at the hippie hangout or sell our annual alumni pint glasses, I promise not everything we do is beer related, we were able to do some really cool things, like host Ask Me Anything sessions in collaboration with Sage, and provide our annual scholarship to an undergrad in the major. The alumni are here to provide a lasting impact and foster connections across our network, and we would be ecstatic if you joined. With all of this, I want to be the first alumni to say, welcome to the alumni community, and congratulations. Great job, everyone.
And now we come to the moment of absolutely gripping excitement with regard to this celebration. Our Capstone Symposium took place 2 weeks ago. It was, as always, a really extraordinary and deeply engaging event. I was incredibly pleased and proud of all of the capstone projects that I saw presented there. I was impressed by the articulateness of all of you and the amount of work you'd put into really serious projects. So now Sean is going to announce the winners of our Capstone Symposium Awards.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this event. I just want to say, as the capstone instructor, how incredibly proud I am of all the students in our program. I get the distinct pleasure and honor of spending nearly a full year with every single one of the students in our program, helping them to develop a research project, to secure an internship, and to marry those two things together as part of their capstone. It is an extraordinary accomplishment. And I think this year, even more extraordinary, given the circumstances that we've all been living through. So I want to start by saying that I am incredibly proud of each and every one of the students. And I think they all deserve a big round of applause. So thank you so much, everybody. Now, unfortunately, we cannot give awards to every single student, although I do think that they deserve it. I am going to announce the awards for our Capstone Symposium events. I'll start with the Autumn 2020 honorable mention. The honorable mention for 2020 autumn was Nick Tritt, 15-minute neighborhoods, improving environmental health by increasing walkability. This is a project that Nick did with Seattle Neighborhood Greenways. So huge congratulations to Nick. Let's give him a big round of applause, virtual or otherwise. Thank you, Nick. And the winner of the Autumn 2020 Best Presentation Award went to, drum roll please, Liz Landefeld. For Whom Do the Salmon Run? Commercial Fishing Rights in Bristol Bay, Alaska. This is work she did with the Alaska Salmon Program here on campus. So congratulations to Liz for her amazing work. All right, so those awards we actually announced earlier this year after our autumn symposium. The next set of awards are brand new. No one has seen these. They've been sealed in a hermetic envelope. So for spring 2021, the honorable mention for best presentation goes to Maddie Harrisnick, Growing a Healthier Community with Gleaning. This is work that Madison did with the City Fruit Organization, gleaning fruit trees and doing a really amazing job of collecting survey scores to just look at the relationship between time spent in nature and time doing this really important work, gleaning fruit trees. So congratulations, Maddie. Let's give her a big round of applause. Okay, and now moving on to the Spring 2021 Best Presentation Award. That goes to our very own Emily Senko. How pesticide risk communication can empower Indigenous communities. This is work that Emily did with the Environmental Protection Agency Region 10. So congratulations, Emily. I hope that everyone watching has seen, just based on the titles, the breadth of the work that our students do as part of their capstones. They really contribute in amazing ways to sustainability, to environmental protection, both locally, regionally, and even internationally in many cases. And you'll get a chance to hear some of the titles of their presentations later on during the processional. So thank you again for spending this time with me, and thank you to all the students for spending the past year or more with me as part of their capstone. It really was a special experience for me, and I hope it's something that you all remember as well. Thank you.
Our keynote speaker today is Roger Fernandez, who will be introduced by one of our faculty members, Tim Billow. Let me just check quickly. Roger, are you here with us on Zoom?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to this. Tim, in your hand.
All right. Well, hey, it's wonderful to be here celebrating graduation with you all. My name is Tim Billow. I'm on the faculty here in the program on the environment. And at this time, it's my great pleasure to introduce our graduation keynote speaker, Roger Fernandez. Roger is a member of the Lower Elwha S'Klallam or Nuxkleum tribe of Washington's Olympic Peninsula. And he's a much beloved faculty member in the UW's American Indian Studies Department. Roger is nationally, if not internationally, recognized as a storyteller, visual artist, and educator. His work is featured on our campus and in many other venues around the region. Roger has been a guest lecturer in a number of Program on the Environment courses over the years, including some of my own, where he's touched the lives of many of our students. Those of us who've had the pleasure of learning from Roger unanimously agree that he is a fount of deep wisdom with crucial lessons for all of us as we try to understand our own humanness and as we struggle to build a more just and sustainable society. Roger, it's such a pleasure to have you here. So let's everyone please welcome Roger Fernandez with a big virtual round of applause. Thanks, Roger.
This gesture means thank you. Siam. Thank you, everyone, for inviting me here to share some Native American stories and thoughts and hopefully wisdoms with you. The work that you're doing with environment. I understand that encompasses a lot of things, but for Native people, when we hear the term environment, we oftentimes think of the natural world around us. And so I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to sing a song very briefly just to welcome us, bring us together, get our hearts in tune with one another. This is a welcome song for my people, the Nexclaim people, as Tim said. That's my tribe, the Lower Elwha people, or the Nexclaim people. Our name's been mispronounced. Since the Europeans and the Americans couldn't say our real name, they call us Clallam. But this is our song, and I'll tell you what the song's about, but I'm going to sing it first. Sita tachenane, Sita tachenane, Sita tachenane. Sita tachenane, Sita tachenane, Sita tachenane. So that welcome song says to people that are coming to our village, we see you coming, we know what is in your heart, we know the good things in your heart. And so this song acknowledges that our first connection for Native people is the heart, that we connect with other people's hearts, their spirits, their emotions. Our brain will come in later, figuring out exactly who they are and words from their language and those kind of things. But first, we acknowledge them here. I'm going to share some things with you that as a storyteller, as an artist, as a Native person, I've been doing for many years now. And because of that, I've been able to carry those stories in my heart. And I want you to know that as I tell you this story, I want you to think about a few things. What makes a story different than a report? A story, something changes. Beginning of the story is one way, at the end of the story it's another. How that transformation occurs in the story, what are your observations on that transformation? How did the world change? How did that story change, beginning to end? Something changes. A report just kind of tells you what's there. You know, there are 500 tons of products in a warehouse in 300 boxes, something like that, where I'm just telling you what is. But a story, something changes. And then also a story elicits feelings that a report certainly can, if we're looking at certain statistics through a certain lens, it might generate feelings, but sometimes those reports don't do that. In fact, they might numb the idea of there's feelings here. There's mostly numbers and facts and figures. So that a story elicits. So in this story, I'm going to tell you, do you have feelings? And sometimes the feelings are blended with other feelings, or maybe you're unclear what the feeling should be. That's fine. The story is not going to expect that you all have the same answer, that you have different answers, different responses to what you hear, what you feel from the story. So I'm going to tell you a story from the people around here, around the Puget Sound region. We're called the Puget Salish people, which is a subgroup of the Coast Salish people, which is a subgroup of the Northwest Coast Indian people, which is very interesting because we never called ourselves any of those names. Puget Salish, Coast Salish, Northwest Coast Indians. We never saw ourselves in these categories that were created, that we were put into. But regardless, this story comes from the tribes right around Puget Sound. I'm going to ask you to listen with the idea of, how is this a story, as I said before, but also, did this story teach me anything? Do I feel that this story is sharing something with me at a deeper level than my brain might comprehend? So let me tell you this story. It's always an interesting story to tell in the middle of the summer, but I'm going to do it. A long time ago, a great snow fell upon the land. It snowed and it snowed and it snowed for day after day. The people had seen snow, of course, in the winter, but they'd never seen any snow like this. It kept snowing and snowing and snowing day after day, and then week after week, and the snow was building up higher and higher. The snow covered the houses. The snow covered the trees. It was a great snow that fell upon the people and the land. And so the people were struggling because they were trapped in their houses and they couldn't get out to go hunting or fishing or gathering shellfish or even visiting each other. And so they were trapped in their houses by this great snow that had captured the land. They were freezing and cold all the time as well. And they only could eat the dried foods, the smoked foods they had prepared for the winter, but they did not expect to be trapped in their homes day after day after day. The only way they finally were able to survive this was they dug tunnels between houses so they might help one another. Well, finally, after a while, that snow melted and went away. And the people came out of the houses and they looked at each other and they were shocked. They looked at each other because they all looked they looked like walking skeletons, like they'd been starving, and they had been starving. And they realized they had almost died, that if it had gone any longer, they might have died. And so the people looked at each other and were just shocked. They looked like walking skeletons. The people agreed they must never let a snowstorm like this come to the world again. If it happened again, they might die. They decided they must go up into the sky world where the Snow Brothers lived. The Snow Brothers are 5 giant brothers who live in the sky world. They bring the snow in the winter to us. And the animals had suffered as well. The animals had suffered during that great storm of snow that froze the world. And they said, we will go with you. We will go with you when you go to the sky world to stop the Snow Brothers. Well, fall came, and they knew that it was time to get ready to go up to the sky world. Winter was coming, but they needed to stop the Snow Brothers. How could they get to the sky world? Well, they knew one way is to shoot arrows into the sky and create a chain of arrows that they could climb up to the sky world. And so that's what they were doing, shooting arrows into the sky, trying to get their arrows to stick into the sky world, but those arrows would flap into the sky and fall back down. Animal, people shooting arrows into the sky, but none of them stuck in the sky. The people were worried now. How can they get to the sky world? Well, a little bird appeared, a little bird named Chickadee. And little Chickadee was carrying a bow. And little Chickadee said, I will try. And everyone laughed at him. Oh, little Chickadee, you're so small. You can't do it. There's no way you can do it. But little Chickadee said, I will try. They didn't know he had a powerful bow made from the elk bone, rib bone of an elk. And so he took that bow and shot the arrow into the sky, and it went up and up and up, and it stuck into the sky. Then he took another arrow. He was such a good marksman with the bow. He shot another one, and that stuck to the bottom of his first arrow. And then the second, third, fourth, until he created a chain of arrows that came all the way and touched the earth. Now, this was a path to get there, but this chain of arrows is like it was so small and slender, there's no way, but they called Woodpecker. And Woodpecker came and flew around that chain of arrows, that wooden chain of arrows, and began to sing his song. And he sang the song, that chain of arrows began to grow and got bigger and bigger and swelled bigger and bigger until it was like the trunk of a tree now, going from the earth all the way to the sky world. And then Woodpecker called his friend Yellowhammer, another bird that hammers onto wood. And together, using their beaks, they were able to pound steps all the way up this tree trunk to the sky world. Well, everyone began to climb up this now it's like a big tree, like a big ladder going up there. They were all climbing up this ladder. And the animals and the people were going up to the sky world. Well, one little animal went to go with them. His name was Rat. You know who Rat is. And Rat started to climb up, but the people said, little Rat, get out of here. You're so little, we'll step on you. Get out, you'll get in the way. Go on, get out of here. And you're a dirty little animal anyway. We don't want you going with us. And they shoot him away. And little Rat was angry. He wanted to go and help. And he waited until everyone was in the sky world. And then he sneaked up that ladder up to the sky world behind them. Well, the people got to the sky world looking for the house of the giant Snow Brothers. And they saw this giant house covered in ice and snow. This is the house of the Snow Brothers. But it was getting dark, and the people said, we will attack the house of the Snow Brothers, and we will attack them tomorrow morning when the sun is out. We can't attack them at night. Now everyone is frightened. The Snow Brothers are giants. Look at the size of this huge house. This will be a terrible battle against the Snow Brothers. And the Snow Brothers have terrible weapons. So many people might be hurt. Many people might be killed, but this work was necessary. They had to do it. So they made camp, getting ready for the morning attack. Well, as they were sleeping, who should appear but that little rat? That little rat went into the Snow Brothers' house. And he looked around and saw the Snow Brothers sleeping in their 5 giant beds. Right next to each bed was a giant bow with its string. And that little rat went to the first brother's bed, and using his claws and teeth and his he used them, and he bit and clawed until he broke that string. Then he moved to the next brother's bed and clawed and bit and chewed with his teeth and claws until that one broke. And then he went to the next brother, and finally he was going to go to the last brother's bed when the sun rose and the people and animals were yelling. They were attacking the Snow Brothers' house, and the Snow Brothers, they got up. They knew they could not be defeated. They were so big and powerful. They reached for their bows and saw 4 of them saw their bowstrings were broken. They could not use their weapons to fight the people. And so they gave up. They knew they could not win any battle. So the people said to the Snow Brothers, you must never snow at the same time in the same place ever again. If you do this, You will cover the earth in snow and ice, and you might wipe out the world. You must go to different places in the sky, one by one, go to different places in the sky and snow from that place. You may never come together again and do this. If you do, we will return and we will kill you the next time. And so the Snow Brothers listened, they understood, and they agreed. And now we see our winters here in the Seattle area, the Puget Sound area. When the snow comes, it maybe is here for a couple days. Hardly ever gets above our ankles, but when it does, it freaks us out. Doesn't get below zero here. All of these things are because of the work of the people. And so the winters we have here are relatively mild. The snow leaves us very quickly now. And again, the people explain this in their story, a fantastic story called The Five Snow Brothers. So Hatnixon, thank you for letting me share that story. In my classes, we would begin a conversation about, well, what does that story teach us? We have a brain-centered culture. So many of us are confused by this story. Well, wait a minute, there's no people living in the sky world, and winter isn't caused by five giants living in the sky, and a little rat can't, and you can't make a chain of arrows. But our little brain will tell us why this story is not true. But this story is not speaking to our brain. It's speaking to a much, much more powerful part of who we are. It's speaking to us here, our spirit, our emotions. It's speaking to the parts of us that don't get a lot of attention in the modern world. It's speaking to us in a way like a dream might speak to us, giving us a message our brain doesn't understand. Have you ever had a dream and you woke up and you said, what the heck was that about? Because you knew the dream was speaking to you. It was trying to send you a message, tell you a story. And if you thought about it and talked about it and prayed about it and wondered about it for long enough, one day you go, oh, I know what that dream was trying to tell me now. The Native people believe that's exactly how these stories operate. They might seem very strange in the beginning, but if you think about them, wonder about them, talk about them, theorize about the meanings of the story, one day you go, oh, I get that story now. And because I've been carrying these stories for decades now, many years, for me, they're different than they might be for you. I've heard the Snow Brothers story for over 30 years. You're hearing it maybe for the first time. But I want to point out what other students have said in the classes I've done. Who are the, I guess you might call them heroes of the story? Who are the ones that save the day? In that light of what a hero might be? Well, people say, well, it's that little bird and that little rat. Two little ones that everyone laughs at. So you're little, you can't do this. They were the ones who accomplished the work that needed to be done to make this a successful endeavor. And so again, what is that telling us? That sometimes we imagine it's the big, big things that will change the world. But the stories remind us in many, many stories, Three Little Pigs, that it's little things. It is little things that will change the world. We can hope for the big things, but we know by little steps we can make things happen. Collaboration, teamwork, the animal people working together. They did not send one hero up into the sky world to change everything. They didn't send one hero to do all the work for them. Everyone was invested. Everyone climbed up that ladder to change the world. There are other things that these people point to, but I guess I'm hoping that you will understand this story is more than what it appears to be. Now, when I first heard this story, and then I was telling it after the pandemic started, one thing struck me and said, wait a minute. The part of the story that said, so the snow came and covered the houses, covered the trees, covered the world, everything was covered in snow. The people could not leave their houses. They were trapped in their houses by this terrible winter that came upon them. And I said, wait a minute, I'm sitting in my apartment trapped in here. I can't even go to the store. I have to wear a mask when I go outside. I felt right away that story was talking about where I am right now. And then I took another step and said, okay, if it's telling me that here's the condition of the world that I'm in a story way, then what else is it telling me? How do we prevent this thing from happening again? We cannot allow this to happen again. And again, now the story said, well, we work together. We rely on the little things. We rely on the wisdom of people that might have a different perspective than we do. So all of these things are here in that story. So I'm trying to link this story to the here and now. And nothing was more clear to me when it said the people were trapped in their houses, as we felt trapped this past year. And so again, this story then was sent to us by our ancestors. My ancestors sent this story to me and my people. And the same thing has happened. I would hope you would recognize it's happening for you. Your ancestors have sent you stories full of this thing called wisdom. Wisdom is in these stories. And wisdom is a word we don't talk about very much in this culture. I've never actually heard it used, that word wisdom, used in a presidential campaign or in trying to set policies for the United States, because we rely on data, we rely on reports, we rely on studies. And so therefore, that emotional part of what needs to be discussed is usually never discussed, or at least not coherently discussed. And so for me then, well, tell the stories of all of our ancestors. For Native people, I was taught this. One of my teachers, I had to go back and learn all the things I'm telling you. I don't take any credit for any of these ideas. I accepted the wisdom of my teachers, and I accepted the wisdom of their culture and my culture. And so one of my teachers was a woman named Vi Hilbert, and she actually taught at the University of Washington. She taught the Lushootseed language. She was an elder, and she was very proud. She taught the language of the Native people of this land at the University of Washington. And as I've met with her many times, one thing she told me that had forever stayed with me, she said, as she sees it, English is a noun-based language. It talks about things. It talks about identifying everything by a name and making it into a thing. So it's based on the noun. She said, but our language is based on the verb, what happened, and then what happened, and who did that happen to, and where did it happen? But first, it is the thing that happened. And so for me then, I've taken that wisdom that she gave me, and I've started to apply it years later, as much as I can, into the work that I'm doing, reminding people that I'm an artist. People always say, Roger's an artist, which means that I create art. And art is a noun. It is a thing I can define, and I can understand through that definition. But for Native people, art is a verb. It is constantly changing, constantly moving. And so for me then, it's a living thing. And so I see art as a verb. I see education not as a structured application of knowledge and teaching of knowledge, sharing of knowledge, but it is a verb. Education is a verb. So again, I'm hoping that you can understand that I'm trying to share what was shared with me. Some wisdom that I was able to connect with my life. And even at this old age, I'm a grandpa now, I still try to take that old teaching and make it alive in my life, make sure it's a verb, that the things that are shared with me, I'm not seeing as things that I can capture and put into writing and put into a book, but carry them here. One thing that's really important to share is that I've identified myself as an artist, which infers, the way I look at it, infers that I'm an artist and you're not. But that's, nothing could be further from the truth. I am an artist, and so are you. You're creative people. You have something within you, a good thing you want to share with other people, and so that makes you an artist, either through through visual arts, or through gardening, or cooking, or poetry, or whatever it is. You are an artist. Use your art as a strength. And that's also, I've been identified as a storyteller, which to me also infers you're not a storyteller. And that, again, couldn't be further from the truth. You're all storytellers. We tell stories all the time. But I'm asking you to add another element to your storytelling. Find the stories of your ancestors and seek the wisdom in those stories, something they accumulated over generations, over millennia. They created this knowledge and they passed it on to you in the stories. And the stories need to be carried here. So I'm encouraging all of you, look back in your cultural history, your heritage before kings and queens. When my students are asked to do this work, I say, if you've got a king and queen in your story, you haven't gone back far enough. Well, go back further. When your ancestors lived with the environment in a very intimate, knowledgeable way, a way that they understood that we live with nature. We don't try to control it, we live with it. Your ancestors had those stories. Find that if you can. Google Hungarian folktales, see what shows up. And then learn one of those stories and carry it in your heart, because that's where it does its work, when it is carried in your heart. I don't mean to lecture you too much here, because you've all proven that you're all capable of learning in multiple ways, but I do want to share one last wisdom I was given. And I want you to say, this is one of the biggest teachings I was given. Another teacher from Vancouver Island taught me this. He went like this. He said, all right, and I share this with little kids, everyone, because I think it's so simple, but it's also a very powerful message. I want to make sure you hear. What is this sound? I have my hand drum. Drum is a living thing made out of deer skin and wood from a tree. So it is, those are living things. My drum's a living thing. Take good care of it. It's alive. Everything is alive to Native people in many of their beliefs. So what is this sound? And it's supposed to be your heartbeat. And what is the first sound that you ever heard as you came into existence, as you were carried in the womb, in the water in your mother's belly? What is the first sound you heard? heard the heartbeat of your mother. And so the Native people say, always remember this. Your first understanding of your existence was hearing the heartbeat of your mother. And so that is a beautiful sentiment, but we want to go one step further. This is the wisdom part for Native people, is that there is another mother. We call her the earth. She is the one who's given birth and life, the breath to everything that exists upon her, she gave birth and life to. And so therefore we are connected to her. And she has a heartbeat as well. And if we are quiet enough and still enough and respectful enough and open enough, we will hear her heartbeat. And when we all understand this, we might understand that the earth is not a noun. The earth is a verb. It is a living thing. So this gesture I'm going to share with you, this means thank you very much in the local tribal gestures of social gestures. This means thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me to your event. And thank you very much for letting me share these thoughts with you. Thank you for the good work I envision you doing to help people as you help the environment. And I want to put up my hands to you because I know this was a lot of work for you. To do all of this, that means you've dedicated your life to a good thing. So I put up my hands to you for that as well. So I want to say Hatningsen, the Klallam language means thank you. Siam, which means special people. Hatningsen Siam, Hatningsen, thank you very much. And I'll turn you back to your other speakers because there's so much wisdom you're going to be hearing today. You've already heard a lot from other speakers and hopefully myself, and there's more to come. So Hatningsen Siam, thank you very much.
Thank you, Roger.
I want to thank Roger very deeply for what seemed to me both a beautifully rendered and deeply resonant story. The application, I think, to our experience of late in the era of COVID is quite apt. I would add to this, actually, stories are international. They travel, they resonate across different cultures. 2020, the year of COVID, was also the Chinese year of the rat. As Roger pointed out, stories are important and they matter because stories do in fact teach us at a deeper level. His closing line, everything is alive, is a piece of wisdom I think that we would all do well to remember every single moment of our lives. And I want to call your attention to another piece that Roger himself didn't mention that I think is equally important. Attend to the telling of the story. The story resonated in the same way that the drum resonates all the way through the telling of the story that he did. Roger is an incredibly generous person. When I called him up to invite him to be our graduation speaker, we wound up chatting for an hour on the phone, a delightful conversation in every way. You can find him in various places on the web. I encourage you to do that and to listen to more of the stories that you'll find there. One of the important things that we try to do at the University of Washington is to give voice to many different people and many different perspectives. I'm really pleased that today we're going to be able to conclude our trio of speakers by turning to Elizabeth Lee. Elizabeth Lee is graduating from our program with summa cum laude honors after having been on the dean's list every quarter she spent at the University of Washington. Her accomplishments led to the public announcement just today, that she is one of two 2021 President's Medalists at the University of Washington. Two undergraduates each year receive that highest of all academic honors. Elizabeth is moving on in the fall to her next step forward as a member of the UW School of Law's entering class. She is, like so many of you graduating today, one of the people who is going to change our world for the better. Elizabeth.
Good day, everyone. It is my honor to be with all of you today for the 2021 Program on the Environment Graduation Celebration. There are approximately 70 senior students being recognized today, graduating from the University of Washington, Seattle campus Program on the Environment. Congratulations, fellow graduates. I represent a very small percentage, around 1.5% of the perspective about this amazing program and the people who have made it what it is today. I will do my best to offer a diverse yet inclusive view of the program that has provided me so much opportunity over the last couple of years. The program on the environment allows its students to embrace, applaud, and promote diversity. Not only do we all come from unique backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives, but our academics differ dramatically. The interdisciplinary framework of this program allows students to sample a broad array of interests through the exploration of different topics or focusing on a specific pathway. Between these options of exploration or following a specific pathway, my experience was the latter, a laser-focused direct plan. I'll never forget on orientation day before starting my first year, how the presenters reinforced that you do not have to declare a major right away. It is okay not to know what you want, enjoy yourself, take your time, explore, have fun. For most of my graduating class, this was probably a huge relief. But for me, I felt sheer panic. I have a plan. I want to execute my plan. I need to declare my plan. But I'm supposed to relax, maybe not be so rigid with my thinking. Square peg, round hole. So now what? Fortunately, I had met my advisor, Anna, before orientation day, and she had reassured me that a plan is okay and that she will help me to realize my plan. And so the journey began. During my junior and senior year in high school, I attended the Ocean Research College Academy Running Start program, otherwise known as ORCA, through Everett Community College. It truly was a running start for me. Through this program, I completed my Associate of Arts and Science degree with 60 other students from Washington State upon graduation from high school. My classmates and I were immersed in intense university-level scientific and humanity-oriented environmental coursework, research cruises, data analytics, group collaborations, research papers, grant work funded by the National Science Foundation, and opportunities to present our project. With ORCA, I had incredible openings with the University of Washington community by collecting data on board the research vessel Rachel Carson, learning from the UW faculty, and participating in the undergraduate research symposium. As a freshman, sophomore, and junior in high school, I occasionally visited the campus for Model United Nations conferences, and actually won my first Model United Nations award participating on the Mock International Court of Justice during one of the conferences here. Attending the University of Washington was my first choice for undergraduate studies. And as an added bonus, with the help of Anna, I was able to apply a fair portion of my college credits that I earned from ORCA through Everett Community College, which placed me in a unique situation to graduate in 2 years. I discovered the environmental studies major under the program on the environment when perusing different majors online, and immediately thought, this is exactly what I want. Environmental studies combined my love of law and the environment, continuing my previous trajectory and providing a stable foundation for achieving my ultimate dream of becoming a justice on the United States Supreme Court and the International Court of Justice. To achieve this goal, I have continued rigorous academic pathways with hands-on inquiry and exploration. My foundational knowledge of oceanography, marine biology, and ecosystem dynamics transformed into a deep appreciation of complex human-environment interactions, emphasizing justice, equality, and integrity. Because of the flexibility of the program on the environment, I was able to participate in graduate-level classes where I connected with the high-level thinking and inquiry, and also gained numerous mentors that have supported my studies and ambitions. One of those mentors, Professor Patrick Christie, is currently overseeing my research on the relations between the Pacific Islanders of Hawaii and the mainland United States government. I also learned about Indigenous history at the Burke Museum of Natural History and Culture with one of my classes, helped the UW Bar move towards a salmon safe certification for a teen class project, conducted a campus-wide survey with classmates to help UW Recycling enhance its services, attended discussions on climate change, race, and a proposed sustainability credit with professors, researchers, and professionals, went on a class data collection cruise on the research vessel Rachel Carson, participated as a CAT scholar under the Walter Chapman Simpson Center for the Humanities, conducted research projects, and of course, completed an internship for the program on the environment Capstone, among other unique opportunities at the University of Washington. I also discovered another passion at the UW, and that is learning about the international community and dynamics abroad. Because of my previous credits, the program on the environment allowed me to minor in international studies while completing my major. All of these experiences are the result of being part of a program and community that encourages its students to pursue their unique pathways. 2 quarters into my studies, COVID happened, and I started learning remotely from home. Now, instead of feeling isolated, I felt even more integrated into the UW community with online connections. I became a student ambassador for the Louis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation program, otherwise known as LSAMP, contacting registered student organizations, attending LSAMP partner events, spearheading collaborations, and communicating with students. The program on the environment was instrumental in my role as a student ambassador. During the autumn 2020 quarter, the program on the environment hosted weekly open spaces conversations that offered me a dialogue and framework for discussing diversity with the LSAMP program. Gary particularly was instrumental in supporting and helping me forge partnerships between the program on the environment and LSAMP. And as a student who commutes to campus via the bus, these interactions would have been much more difficult if I had to participate in person. Through these discussions facilitated by the program on the environment, I have also learned that diversity is the most powerful when represented in thought. During the winter 2021 quarter, I interned with the National Marine Fisheries Service for my program on the environment Capstone, looking at Section 120 of the 1972 Marine Mammal Protection Act, completing interviews, and composing relevant documents. Some of my findings from this internship experience were 3 main principles of approach for moving forward. And these are communication, standardization, and accountability. I applied these principles to my capstone research project to determine a set of best practices for environmental law and policy. However, I have since found that they may be applied in numerous areas of life. From Lubna's Communication for Environmental Studies course to Yenshu's Investigations in the Analysis of Environmental Cases class and Sean's Capstone course series, I learned the importance of oral, written, and nonverbal communication. For most of my life, my mom has told me that communication is different for every person, including our interpretations of what is being shared. To account for this diversity, we standardize, producing a platform where definitions, expectations, and goals can be acknowledged by everyone. But sometimes our laser-focused plans are not accomplished as we originally envisioned. Holding oneself and others accountable helps to facilitate the dismantling of plans into growing solutions and new ideas. Most of my undergraduate classes have included group projects, and as challenging as some of them were, they also had enormous rewards and offered extensive opportunities for me to deepen my understanding and relationship with others moving forward. Due to its interdisciplinary nature and the approach of its people, the program on the environment is woven into a diverse and colorful tapestry of different perspectives. It has taught me how to interact with numerous types of people in a kind, respectful, and integrous way. This wholehearted inclusion and support of diversity is one of the most amazing takeaways I have from the program on the environment. I was able to accomplish so much at the University of Washington because of the accommodating and multidimensional program and the people that have open-mindedness in our community. The experiences I have shared with you today demonstrate that we are shaped by numerous opportunities and are limitless in our possibility. We are supported by many. We are unique, yet connected. I feel so thankful for the community of people here today and for those who have supported me on my journey. I want to especially thank my family who are my best friends. They challenge me to be better every day. As a high school student, I remember telling my family that I envisioned myself attending the UW, sitting at one of the Starbucks on campus, having a cup of coffee. I am furthering my studies at the UW School of Law in the fall and could not be happier to continue engaging with this community of diverse views and perspectives, as well as building upon my networks at the School of Law, having a coffee with current and new colleagues and mentors. The UW has and continues to play a big role in helping to shape and realize the person I am and who I will become. It has been a privilege to learn with the program on the environment. I want to wish the whole graduating class much success in your endeavors and thank my family, Lubna, and Anna for their feedback for this speech. It has been an immense pleasure and privilege to present at the Program on the Environment Spring 2021 Graduation Celebration. Thank you, and congratulations, class of 2021.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It is, I think, very typical of Elizabeth, but not always necessarily characteristic for people of her level of accomplishment and obvious eloquence to express themselves with such a degree of modesty and generosity. There too, I think in what we've done today, we can find lessons that we can and should take forward. Previously, in the course of today's program, I described the Capstone Awards presentation as the most exciting moment. I lied. I do that sometimes. My two kids are absolutely delighted every time they see that happening. I lied, not intentionally, but because in fact, the highlight and most exciting moment of today's program is where we have now arrived. Our graduates are going to be introduced one by two of our faculty members, Tim Billow and Alexa Schreier. This space in the program gets defined, if you noticed on the slide, as the Bachelor of Arts processional, which typically we do in a room with a stage. We don't have one today, but I would certainly invite each of you individually at home or wherever you are to get up and walk across that small confined space to mimic as best you can the act of proceeding from one stage of your life to another one, and to really hold in your mind the enormous applause that we are providing for each of you as you do that. Tim, Alexa.
Thank you, Gary.
There we go. Yeah, so at this time, yeah, we'll start by reading the names. And I think if we could maybe hold our applause until the end, maybe if you want to do virtual applause using some of the little applause icons, that'd be great. But I think at the end, we'll do a loud, raucous round of applause. And yeah, and I think Alexa is going to be starting us off here. So go ahead, Alexa.
Thanks, Tim. Batul Al-Sadi, Seeking Justice, Establishing the EPA's Framework to Address Environmental Challenges of Tribal Communities.
Alexander Ankuta, Analysis of Spawning Salmon Populations of Walker and Miller Creeks.
Anne-Marie Aiton, Discovery Park Visitor Center Redesign.
Andres Barrera, Identifying a Potential Cause for the Sword Fern Die-Off in Seward Park.
Elizabeth Binkin, Examining the Impact of Declining Black Abalone on Local Stakeholders to Inform Future Conservation Decisions.
Ashley Bell, Exploring Reasons that the Black, Indigenous, and other people of color communities are underrepresented in environmental volunteering?
Samantha Bergstrom, opportunities to mitigate food insecurity during a public health crisis.
Caitlin A. Burkholtz, the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on local farms and food systems.
Brianna Bjulstad, best practices for public outreach in urban park restoration projects.
Karen Bossart, making the impersonal personal, how storytelling shapes social media content for city government sustainability.
Dana Kathleen Brooks, sports marketing as a channel for sustainable consumerism.
Emily Brooke Bussey, time in nature reduces stress in teens and impacts their environmental worldview.
Levi A. Casto, optimizing indicator songbird selection on the Olympic Peninsula, considerations for passive acoustic monitoring and anticipated climatic effects.
Madeline A. Chandler, exploring the use of local ecological knowledge in fisheries management.
Yikong Chen, opportunities and challenges for assessing Washington State's management on reducing construction and demolition waste.
Vanessa Chung, increasing the representation of Black, Indigenous, and people of color in sustainable shopping.
Madeline Corbett, changes in the purple-orange sea star's spatial distribution and abundance in the Bering Sea.
Connor Matthew O'Leary Courtney, how news organizations can increase their Twitter engagement through style and formatting.
Kyle Crane, building resilience in urban food distribution.
Krista Einerson, reforming the way we think about our food system through the implementation of systems thinking.
Noah Graham Gauntz, use of podcasts in environmental education.
Daniela Ivana Gonzalez, empowering a diverse and inclusive culture between the UW and NOAA, the UW DIE catalog.
Nectarius John Hagler, building smoke-ready communities in Washington, how to prepare, not react.
John Michael Halverson, one wheels, e-bikes, and electric skateboards, developing safe, accessible commuting options for better community and a sustainable future.
Madison Harrisek, comparing the connection to nature achieved through gleaning versus other outdoor activities.
Emma Rose Helm, making green building more accessible in the construction industry.
A. La, strategies to implementing behavioral change to love food, stop waste.
Christine Huang, a risk analysis on the market-wide scale transition to electric vehicles.
Alex Ricardo Izquierdo, mapping seagrass, a visual approach to conservation research.
Therese Rail Katis, the sound of science, acoustic monitoring of songbirds to assess forest habitat on the Olympic Peninsula.
Caitlin Aaron Kelly, COVID and cuisine, can a global pandemic lead to social and sustainable food?
Allison Kirsty, communicating the climate crisis, assessing climate change communication to inspire action.
Gabby Loxon, Best practices to increase wildfire resilience in Western Washington-like communities.
Angie Lai, putting the trust in trust responsibility, sovereignty and climate adaptation for federally recognized tribes, nations, and confederacies.
Alex G. Lamb, Climate Issues and the People, Exploring and Analyzing Effective Methods for Environmental Communication.
Katie Lamb, Communication Methods Between Nonprofit Organizations and Their Supporters.
Carly Jeanette Lampard, Step in the Right Direction, Urban Forest Restoration and Preventing Social Trails.
Liz Landefeld, For Whom Do the Salmon Run? Commercial Fishing Rights in Bristol Bay, Alaska.
Anne Marie P. Lay, Organized Organics, Analyzing Methods of Outreach in Waste Disposal.
Elizabeth Lee, An Analysis of Government Frameworks and the Environment through the 1972 Marine Mammal Protection Act.
Megan Lee, The Contemporary Intersection of Mobile Technology and Nature, Best Practices for Using Mobile Applications in Natural Settings.
Amy Lin, Undressing Fast Fashion Through Clothing Repair, One Stitch at a Time.
Nathan C. Mock, Uses for Kelps in Agriculture and Potential for Carbon Sequestration.
Brian Munake, Climate Activism, Connecting the Youth and Minorities.
Cara Payne, How to Successfully Create an Educational Outreach Campaign.
Alexander Peck, Components Involved with a Successful Small-Scale Rural Water Supply System in Developing Communities.
Amber Marie Pfeiffer, The Realities of Home Composting.
Felix Benedict Reinhold, Evaluating the Effect of Contaminated Groundwater on Cross-Shore Ecosystems.
Maybelle A. Rodrigo, Accessibility to Environmentalism for BIPOC Youth in Seattle.
Liana M. Rizayeva, Building Communication Frameworks, How Communication Adaptability Engages Our Communities.
Shekinah B. San Jose, How do gleaning organizations contribute to food waste reduction and food security?
Abigail Serna, Dual Language and Virtual Learning, Cooking and Adapting to COVID Restrictions.
Melinda Opal Skipworth, Behind the Signs, Analyzing for Effective Elements of Outreach Signage.
Elena Spasova, 4 Ways Indigenous Knowledges Can Help Improve the World Food System.
Emily Talbot, Sustainability-Focused Podcasts, Strategies for Cultivating an Audience.
Kate A. Terrado, Think Global, Act Local, Ocean Pollution Reduction.
Molly Thompson, Developing Interpersonal Skills Through Nature-Based Learning.
Carson Holly Torres, The Role of Top Predators in Seagrass Conservation.
Baljinyam Tolvadorch, Improving Collaboration in a Large-Scale Forestation Project, Washington 20-Year Forest Plan.
Hannah Charlotte Treppenhauer, Sustainable Eating in Schools, Increasing Student Participation Through Food Culture.
Nick Tritt, 15-minute neighborhoods, improving environmental health through increasing walkability.
Jenna Trong, Inside EPA, getting to effective science communication from the inside out.
Harry Weldon, using knowledge gained on the recycling behaviors of college students to reduce recycling contamination through education.
Isabel Wilson, exploring effective strategies for increasing college student engagement in environmental community science.
Dustin John Woodbury, increasing compliance rates for underground storage tank safety on tribal lands.
Selena Shear, determining applications of the air quality index by examining qualities of successful environmental indices for policymaking.
Ryan Makoto Yasuda, limitations impacting the success of habitat conservation plans under the Endangered Species Act, reasons for improvement.
Sarah Zweigstra, corporate social responsibility, analyzing the feedbacks between internal uses of sustainability reporting and strategy within a fashion retailer. All right, well, at this time, let's congratulate our amazing graduates. We're so proud of you all. Let's hear a huge round of applause. Woo-hoo!
Yeah!
Let's go!
Congratulations to everybody.
Okay.
We're nearing the end, although obviously nearing a large number of beginnings as well. I do want to meet Dustin's clearly his best friend in that particular photo, by the way. So I'll put that on your agenda, Dustin. I think running through the roster of projects these students have accomplished in the course of this year gives us a really clear answer to the question of what environmental studies is. It is everything. Every single piece of what each individual student has done is part of what we need to be able to move on to a productive, positive, equitable, and sustainable future. As we wind up, the first thing I really want to try to convey to all of you students is how badly I and all the other members of POE miss being able to be with you today in person. Zoom and the internet are amazing in all sorts of ways. They're clearly indispensable for our lives in this century. But to not be able to share with you in an in-person setting one of the most important moments of your lives is a kind of empty gap that I think we'll feel for years. So please, if you do happen to be back on or near or anywhere close to campus at some point, stop by Wallace Hall, say hi, remind us, and tell us what you've been up to. I want to close too by making sure that I really do acknowledge the faculty and staff of this exceptional program. I've been on campus more than 30 years. I've held a number of different jobs. I have never worked with a better of faculty, staff, and students. So individually, thank you. Sean McDonald, Christy Strauss, Tim Billow, Alexa Schreier, Anna Wyman, Eli Wheat, Yenchu Wang, Lubna Alzaru, and Leah Rubinsky. You really are each amazing people. Students, I wish that today I could be sending you forth into a sane, sober, well-managed, and uniformly happy world. I can't do that. But you do depart from here, wherever here is for you today, with our blessing and our hopes. And before we wind up and you take that next step, I'd like to ask you to do for us one final thing, that all graduates, wherever you are, please just stand for a moment. Turn your camera on if you want. Look around you. And take a few moments to applaud the parents, family, and friends who helped make your graduation possible, and with whose further help you can change the world. Thanks, and good luck.
Mhm.